What if I told you that the key to mastering any subject isn't intelligence, but rather the way you approach learning? Most individuals mistakenly believe that true learning involves memorizing facts or simply cramming information into their minds. However, truly brilliant thinkers operate on a different principle. There exists a technique so straightforward, it almost seems self-evident, yet it compels the brain to genuinely absorb and comprehend knowledge at a depth rarely achieved by others. Consider this. One of the minds responsible for unraveling some of modern physics' most profound mysteries wasn't celebrated for making things complex, but for his exceptional ability to simplify. His unique talent allowed him to articulate the most intricate natural phenomena as if narrating a story to a child. And precisely therein lies the secret. Mastery isn't contingent on raw genius, but on a mental process so potent that anyone can employ it. Here's the astonishing truth. You can leverage this exact methodology to learn virtually anything you desire: languages, scientific principles, business acumen, or skills that currently appear insurmountable. The real secret isn't found in endless hours of blind effort or rote memorization. Instead, it lies in compelling your mind to restructure information in a manner that ensures indelible retention. In this video, I will guide you step by step through the application of the world's most powerful learning technique. By the end, you'll come to realize that your brain isn't merely a repository for facts, but a dynamic mechanism designed to streamline, interconnect, and generate meaning. Once you grasp how to harness this power, you'll discover that achieving mastery in any field is not just possible, but inevitable. So remain engaged, as what you're about to uncover may fundamentally alter not only your study habits, but also your perception of your own capabilities. Let's commence. Envision yourself confronting a challenging subject. Perhaps it's physics, mathematics, economics, programming, or a new language, anything that feels beyond your grasp. The common reaction is to think, I must memorize all of this. But here's the initial paradigm shift. Don't begin with memorization. Begin with simplification. Select just one concept, a single idea. Document your understanding of it on a piece of paper, as if explaining it to a 7-year-old. Employ straightforward language, concise sentences, and relatable everyday examples. When you engage in this exercise, something profound occurs. You force your mind to discard convoluted terminology and actively pursue clarity. This is the first jolt, because as you endeavor to simplify, you start to expose previously concealed gaps in your comprehension. That vague sensation of "I think I know this" dissipates, and you pinpoint precisely where your understanding falters. It's an uncomfortable yet liberating realization. You're no longer deceiving yourself. You're confronting knowledge head-on. For instance, imagine you're learning about fractions. Instead of commencing with formal definitions, picture a pizza. You explain, if I slice it into 2 equal portions, each piece represents 1/2. You haven't mentioned numerators or denominators, yet you've encapsulated the core essence. It's simple, clear, and memorable. And what transpires here is truly extraordinary. When you translate complexity into simplicity, your brain forges deeper neural connections. Information ceases to be an abstract entity and becomes an integral part of your natural vocabulary. You might not consciously realize it, but you are teaching yourself at the most foundational level. This marks the inaugural step in training your mind to learn anything. Always initiate the process by simplifying. Reject the illusion of inherent complexity, because when you can articulate something simply, it signifies that you have genuinely begun to comprehend it. Having simplified the concept, it's now time for the crucial step that distinguishes those who merely read from those who truly learn: teaching. Pay close attention, as this is the core secret. Teaching doesn't necessitate a classroom, students, or a blackboard. Teaching means verbally explaining the concept aloud, as though addressing an inquisitive individual who has no prior knowledge of the subject. This could be a friend, your phone's camera, a mirror, or even an unoccupied chair. The paramount objective is to transform abstract thought into spoken words. When you attempt to teach, a remarkable phenomenon unfolds. The brain is compelled to arrange ideas into a logical sequence. Suddenly, what seemed perfectly clear in your mind begins to unravel. You hesitate, forget a segment, or struggle to find the appropriate words. This moment isn't a setback. It's the precise juncture where genuine learning occurs. It's when the illusion of understanding dissolves and your mind exposes its deficiencies. Rather than recoiling from this discomfort, embrace it. Each instance you attempt to teach and realize your inability to do so is a valuable gift. You've uncovered the void in your comprehension, and only by acknowledging that void can you effectively fill it. Reflect on how children recount stories. They exhibit no fear of stumbling, inventing words or repeating themselves, and precisely because of this uninhibited approach, they learn at an astonishing pace. When you adopt this role, teaching something you haven't yet fully mastered, you activate the same innate mechanism of accelerated learning. This is the second imperative step. Teach in order to learn. The more you teach, the deeper your understanding becomes. Knowledge doesn't solidify within your mind through silent reading alone, but through the audible expression of your own words. Speaking organizes, clarifies, and permanently embeds it. Remember, your purpose in teaching isn't to impress, it's to discover. Because with every explanation, your mind reconstructs itself, and what once appeared unattainable gradually becomes an integral part of your being. You've simplified, you've attempted to teach, and in the process you've identified gaps. The subsequent step involves revisiting the source material, reviewing it, and simplifying once more. This iterative cycle is what forces your mind to transmute raw information into authentic knowledge. Here's a practical illustration. Imagine you're delving into the concept of gravity. Initially, you might write, "Gravity is the force that attracts bodies to one another, proportional to their mass and inversely proportional to the square of the distance." It sounds sophisticated, technical even, but have you truly grasped it? Now endeavor to explain it to a child. Gravity is like an invisible magnet that pulls everything downwards. The larger the object, the stronger its pull. That's why the Earth keeps the moon in orbit around it. Done. Instead of an intricate definition, you now possess a simple, vivid mental image. This is the profound impact of review. You take what you couldn't articulate effectively, return to the original source, seek a fresh example, substitute complex terminology with straightforward imagery, and then try again. It's akin to meticulously polishing a rough gemstone until it gleams like a diamond. And here's the crucial insight. Every time you review and simplify, your mind undergoes a reorganization. What was once tenuous becomes robust. What was merely a memorized sentence transforms into genuine understanding. You no longer depend on rote repetition, because now you truly comprehend. This constitutes the third essential step in training your mind to learn anything. Review until you can explain it simply. Because only when you can articulate it in clear, unambiguous terms have you truly learned it. If you've diligently simplified, taught, and reviewed, you are already significantly ahead of the vast majority. However, an even higher echelon exists: creative repetition. This isn't about repeating for the sake of repetition. It's about reiterating in diverse ways, as if playfully engaging with the knowledge. The brain thrives on variety. When you present the same concept from multiple perspectives, you forge a multitude of connections. It's comparable to reinforcing a bridge with numerous supporting pillars. The more angles you explore, the more robust your understanding becomes. Here are concrete examples. You've studied electricity. After simplifying and reviewing, articulate the same explanation in 3 distinct ways. First, using wires and light bulbs, then by drawing an analogy to water flowing through pipes, finally by sketching it on paper. Each rendition anchors a different facet of the concept. When studying history, don't merely recite dates. Transform it into a compelling narrative. A famished populace overthrowing an unjust monarch, the French Revolution. Then present it as a theatrical play, subsequently as a newspaper headline. When learning a language, explain the same sentence within varied contexts. Do you perceive the pattern? The core content remains constant, but the presentation format evolves. This dynamic shift compels the brain to forge novel connections. The outcome: you don't merely understand, you become adept at applying that knowledge in any given situation. And here's a subtle detail that almost everyone overlooks. When you infuse playfulness into learning, the brain perceives it as pleasure. Pleasure activates memory systems far more powerfully than mere obligation. This is why children learn through play. They aren't just accumulating information, they're genuinely enjoying the process. Thus, the fourth step is this: don't be a mechanical repeater. Be a creator of versions. Each novel method of explanation acts as a layer of concrete, permanently setting the knowledge. But now pay very close attention. Because there's a point where many individuals falter and give up. Error. You strive to simplify, explain, review, and yet you still stumble. The words elude you. The logic slips away. The explanation collapses. Most people interpret this as a sign of failure. However, the truth is precisely the opposite. Error serves as the compass that directs you towards authentic learning. Consider this. When you make a mistake, it doesn't signify a complete lack of knowledge. It means you've pinpointed the exact location where your mind hasn't yet constructed a robust bridge of understanding. And that is precisely where your efforts should be concentrated. The error isn't an impediment, it's the map. Imagine you're studying probability. You attempt to explain why the likelihood of obtaining heads or tails is 50%. The first time you might say, because there are two options and one of them has to occur. It sounds logical, but it's incomplete. When you stumble, you realize you need to delve deeper into the concept of independent events. The mistake exposed the gap. Now when you review, you return stronger, and your explanation evolves. A coin has no memory. Each toss is independent, which is why the probability is always 50-50. Another instance. You try to explain photosynthesis and inadvertently omit the role of sunlight. In the discomfort of that oversight, you are compelled to review. The next time you will never forget again, because the failure has become a permanent mnemonic marker. And here's the crucial takeaway. Every mistake is a rehearsal. The more you stumble while explaining, the more raw material you possess to transform into clarity. It's like a sculptor who, with each incorrect strike, gradually uncovers the contours of the stone until the intended figure emerges. When approached with discernment, error transforms into a catalyst for progress. But to achieve this, you require a scientific mindset, curiosity rather than judgment. Ask yourself, what precisely caused me to get this wrong? By answering, you fortify the very connection that was previously weak. This is the fifth step. Do not fear mistakes. Embrace them. They do not demonstrate your inadequacy. They prove you are pushing the boundaries of your intellect, and it is at these boundaries that true learning flourishes. Now, to indelibly imprint this in your mind, type in the comments, "I choose to learn without limits." This is more than just a comment. It's a solemn commitment to your own cognitive potential. When you commit it to writing, you transmit a direct command to your brain, and it begins to operate in your favor. Consider it the initial phase of your mental reprogramming, a declaration to yourself that no barriers exist to what you are capable of learning. By now you are familiar with the pathway. Simplify, teach, review, play, and transmute mistakes into valuable tools. These are the steps that compel the mind to master anything. However, there remains one final, indispensable ingredient that cannot be overlooked: diligent effort. Yes, there is a method. Yes, there is a technique. But without genuine exertion, nothing will truly flourish. The brain is akin to a muscle. It must be challenged. It requires resistance to develop. There is no genius without discipline. The truth is that every great mind dedicated immense effort, often far exceeding what most deemed possible. And that dedication imbued the method with its power. What changes when you apply this formula is that effort ceases to be unproductive. You no longer squander hours lost in highlighting or meaningless repetition. Every attempt to explain, every corrected error, every creative review constructs a solid stepping stone, and step by step you ascend until you conquer what once seemed impossible. Ultimately, the formula is straightforward, yet profoundly effective. Simplify, teach, review, play, embrace failure, and above all, work diligently. There is no magical shortcut. There is discipline. There is method. And there is you, putting it all into practice. When you commit, the impossible begins to feel inevitable, because the mind, when guided correctly, expands. And a mind that expands never reverts to its former confines. So here is the challenge. Select a topic today. Any topic. Take a piece of paper, simplify it, explain it, review it, experiment with it. Welcome mistakes and do so with unwavering discipline every single day. You will discover through practice that there are no inherent limitations for an individual who applies intelligent effort. This is the genuine secret. It's not merely about studying. It's about studying the right way, with sufficient intensity to transform your mind into an unstoppable force. If this video has broadened your perspective, please leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss future lessons. And tell me in the comments, What is the very first thing you intend to learn using this technique? I personally read every comment. Thank you for watching until the end. Stay well, and I'll see you in the next one.